Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining me here today. My name is Adrienne Bradley, and this is the Daycare Q&A Show, and I am your host. So thank you for joining me here. If you're joining me live, please send me some hearts and likes so I can see you and say hi. And if you're catching this on replay, go ahead and put a hi in the chat or in the comments so I can say hi to you too. So I've got a different setup here this morning. I don't know why my printer wouldn't work. It wouldn't print. Normally I print off my notes, but it wouldn't print. I don't know how something that's working fine one day, the next day is something different. I don't know. But I'm not going to let that worry me. I've got my notes open on my phone. I've got my laptop open over here so that I can see you and any comments or questions that you might have. So we're going to go on with the show, as they say. All right. So, like I said, this is the Daycare Q&A Show. This is January 10th, episode 27. So we are moving along in our episodes. I'm really excited. I love this show. I love doing this show. And like I said, if you're joining me, please say hi. I just want to say hi to you. I just love when you guys join me here live. It makes the show so much more interactive. Let's see. So a few housekeeping notes. I didn't get to put my dogs outside, so if they bark, I say that every week. I know it's probably annoying that I keep saying that, but one of them will bark at any sound, and the other one won't. But yeah. So I just want to let you know because it'll probably startle me, and it might startle you. So they are inside. At least I can see them now. They're inside. So we'll hope that they'll cooperate. Let's see. Second, like I usually start the show by giving a bit of a disclosure and saying that the questions and the issues that we address here and that I talk about on the show are based on my own experience or someone close to me, their experience, my own experience being a childcare provider for over 20 years. And but this is your business, and not everything is for everyone. So if you hear something here that you think might work for your business, then take that, run with that. And if you hear something that just doesn't vibe with you, and yeah, just leave that. That's probably for someone else, right? Don't receive it, just leave it. And that can be for someone else. It is your business, and the show is really here to just provide you with a different perspective, a different outlook on maybe an issue that you're either going through, you've been through, or maybe you might encounter in the future. And this is just to give you an opportunity to maybe hear a different point of view that may help you in the moment. You know, sometimes we get in those moments and we're kind of shell-shocked, or we're in a different mindset, and we just can't even deal with it the way we would want to deal with it. You know what I mean? Because we just can't think in that moment. And so my hope is that if we discuss something similar here on the show, then maybe you'll recall that in the moment, or you can refer back to it, and it will help you with whatever you're dealing with, and give you that perspective that you need in that moment. Okay? So that being said, take what works, leave the rest. Okay? Let's see. Third, I just want to remind you that if you are joining me live, or even if you catch this on replay and you have a question, go ahead and leave it in the chat or in the comments. And if you're here live with me, I will try and get to it before the end of the show. And if I don't, or if you're putting this on the replay, in the comments on the replay, then I will come back in and address it after the show. So go ahead and leave any comments or questions that you might have right there in the chat or in the comments, okay? And I will get to it. Let's see. Last thing, in case you do have to leave early, Just a reminder that the replays go up on our YouTube channel the following day, and I'm gonna have to ask for grace again. I have been really good before the before the new year in getting the episodes up, but the holiday season kind of threw me for a loop, and I've kind of backed up on some tasks. So today I've got to get some of these previous episodes up on the channel. But if you've missed some of them, we do have 25 of them already over there. Maybe you can catch a replay of some of our previous shows and get caught up while I get caught up. Okay, all right. So yeah, let's see. Okay, so I'm just scrolling through my notes here. Let's see what's going on in the Thriving Childcare universe. Okay, so today, first, the episode is sponsored by the Provider Planner and Organizer. There's our Stripe version right behind me. That is our luxury planner for childcare owners. And I've been saying this for a really long time, I know, but it is still the beginning of the year. This is a great time to get your planner and to map out the goals and plans that you have for your profession, your business, as well as your personal life, and get that all laid out so that it doesn't sneak up on you. If you're anything like me, if you don't write it down, if you don't put it on your calendar, you'll forget. And before you know it, it's someone's birthday, or it's an anniversary, or something you forgot to do. So now is a great time. It's still a great time to get your planner. We have fast shipping, and right now we have free shipping on the planner. I want to do everything that I can do to get a planner in your hand to start your year off great. So there is a link in the comments right now that you can click and go over to and check out the planner and the features that are just for childcare owners. And yeah, get your planner. We'd love to send you one this week, and then next week you can lay out your plans for the rest of the quarter, the rest of the year in your provider planner. So go ahead and check that out. The link is in the comments. Yeah, okay. Let's see. And okay, so last week I wrote on the blog. If you don't know, I'm the author of the Thriving Childcare blog on thrivingchildcare.com. And last week I wrote about the best annual goals for your thriving daycare business. So, like I said, it is the beginning of the year, and this is when everybody puts resolutions out there. I don't like to think of resolution. I think it's a dirty word for most people now, but I mean, for me, I resonate more with goals, annual goals. So if we're going to say annual goals, this is the time of the year when most people are in that mindset. I was telling someone earlier this week that I'm about to start working on my vision board. And I'll put a link to the training that we have for the vision board in the comments later. But this is the time. This is the time when you've kind of got a fresh mindset. I know some people, and a friend of mine, she has another reset in her year. I think it's closer to her birthday, and which is next month, and my birthday is next month. So it's kind of still the beginning of the year, but this is when we have those thoughts of new beginnings. And when it comes to our business, this is a great time, like I said, to get those plans down so that you know the path that you're on, or the path that you want to be on for 2024. So I wrote how to set up the best annual goals for your business, not my business, for your business. So I did link to that in the comments, so you can go over and check out that post. And it's really good to figure out your own process for setting the goals that you want to achieve, like I said, both in your professional life and in your personal life. And this article kind of just gives you a good starting point and helps you to set the ground rules for your process. So go over and check that out. Yeah, it's a good read, and I think it's very timely. You know, this is, like I said, this is when everybody's thinking about it. So let's do something about it. And it's not about setting resolutions that we're going to break and that are too lofty. This is about setting measurable, what they call SMART goals, for 2024, so that at any point, let's say at the end of first quarter, the end of second quarter, you can kind of see if you're on track for it, achieving the goals that you want to achieve, or maybe you need to adjust them, or so that by the end of the year, we're not just looking back saying, I wish I could have, and I would have, and I wanted to, but you didn't set any actionable plans to get those things done. So go over and check that out. Like I said, the link is in the comments. And speaking of the blog, we have a new feature on the blog. I'm smiling because I'm really excited about it. It took me a while to get this in place, but now I'm really happy that it is. We have a new feature on the blog where you can listen to the blog posts. So you know those articles that you see around the interwebs, that you can click on the audio player in the beginning and just listen to it. If you don't know, that's a thing. And last year I was determined to get that for Thriving Childcare, and it's finally in place. So the article I was just talking about, if you like, you can just listen to it. So maybe put your earphones on at nap time, or maybe when you're cleaning the kitchen or cooking, or if you're like me, when you're driving around running errands, you can listen to the blog post now. You don't have to commit the time to reading it. And I'd love for you to consume it any which way you can and that you have time for. So that's why I wanted to give you this option, because I know for me, that's when I catch up on my podcasts and articles that I want to read. I will listen in the car when I'm doing multitasking, right? It's not really supposed to be the greatest thing to be doing multitasking, because you're not really paying enough attention to maybe absorb it. But hey, that's what I do. So anyway, go over and check the article out, if for nothing else, to check out that new feature, and let me know, come back and let me know what you think about being able to listen to the blog posts instead of having to read them to yourself. I would love to know what your thoughts are about that. Okay, so this morning we're going to talk about a few questions that providers have sent in. But before we do that, I've been going every week to the planner, to the provider planner, and looking to see if there's any observances or days that we can maybe build a curriculum around, or maybe a fun activity, a project, or maybe even a meal, a snack or something around. So tomorrow, today's the 10th, but tomorrow, the 11th of January, January 11th, is National Milk Day. So, I don't know if you know, but there's a National Milk Day. So, I can think of a lot of things. The kids drink milk every day, but maybe you want to talk about or read a book that talks about where milk comes from. And that would be a great thing to do for National Milk Day. Maybe you want to see if there's a project that you could make with milk. We don't want to waste the milk. The milk is very expensive nowadays. You don't really want to waste it. But see if there's maybe a milk painting project you could do, where you mix some colors in milk and make some milk paint. Maybe something like that. So maybe think about some ideas that you could celebrate for National Milk Day. All right. Let's see. The second Monday in January. Now I'm going to have to go look and see what's the second Monday in January, if we passed it or not. Let's see. Yes, we did. That was on Monday the 8th. So I'm gonna still include it here because it's something I need to do. National Clean Off Your Desk Day. is the second Monday in January. So that was this past Monday. So if you didn't know about it and you didn't celebrate it, and you need to, like me, you can tell, maybe you want to retroactively celebrate National Clean Off Your Desk Day, like I will be. All right. And then the 13th, which is actually Saturday, is National Sticker Day. So if you have a planner, and we'll be on that day, we'll be talking about a special offer for stickers for the planner. But kids love stickers, so maybe it's time to pull out some stickers. You can celebrate this on Monday or even Friday, maybe on Friday, even though it's Saturday. Pull out your stash of stickers, and maybe have an activity where, it's a nice little sensory activity where they're just putting stickers on paper. Let them choose which stickers they want to use. We've got Valentine's Day coming up here soon, or Martin Luther King holiday even before that. So pull out your stash of stickers, and maybe clear out some old stickers that you need to, and just have the kids go at it for National Sticker Day. Okay? And before I move on, I know that, I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but I should have. Because the holiday, the Martin Luther King holiday, is actually on Monday, the 15th. It changes every year, right? I think it's what does it say? I think it's the third Monday in January. Is that what it is? Yeah, the third Monday in January. But if you haven't, remind your clients. I like to remind them. I know a lot of providers think that's a bit much. We do a lot, we do. But I'd rather remind them than have somebody knocking on my door on Monday. And I've had that happen. So for me, it was just easier for me to remind them. So maybe thinking about sending out a mass text, sending out an email, putting a little note on your sign-in sheet that says that Monday's a holiday if you're observing Martin Luther King holiday on Monday. Okay? All right. So that is that. Let's move into some of these questions. And I've been starting off the questions every week with a question that I had for you. Okay? So this week is no different. The question I have for you is, what changes are you thinking about making to your childcare business in 2024? So we were just talking about the blog post that is talking about creating annual goals for your business and, writing them down in your planner. But have you thought about what changes you might want to make? Maybe you want to get an assistant. Maybe you're at the point where your enrollment maybe warrants or would be better for you and for your business if you got an assistant, if you got some help. Maybe you want to do something that I love to do, which is to order your groceries online and pick them up or have them delivered. Maybe you want to make some changes that will free up your time like that. But what changes do you want to make in your for your childcare business for 2024? Go ahead and leave that in the comments or in the chat. I would love to know what changes you're thinking about making, and whether they're based on something that you didn't like that happened in 2023, or why you're making these changes. So please share and leave that what you're thinking about in the comments. I'd love to know. All right, so we're going to get into a few questions today, and like I said, these are questions that are submitted by other providers, and we just want to give them a perspective for what the issue that they're dealing with. But remember, if you have any questions or if you have any input or feedback on any of these questions, go ahead and leave that in the comment or in the chat. Let me see. I'm trying to keep both my phone and my laptop awake, and I'm going to refresh that while I get into one of these questions. Okay, there we go. I can see, hopefully, I can see the chat. All right. So, first question is, hey, Adrian, I've been thinking about making some updates to our daycare policies, and I'd love your input. I'd love to get your input. What are your thoughts on offering paid vacations for your kiddos when they're on a family getaway, or when I take some time off? I want to make sure it works well for everyone. What do you think? Okay. Well, first of all, what advice would you give this provider? Do you take paid? Do you offer and do you take paid vacations? That's her question here. I know that there's a lot of different ways to swing at this. And I think I've tried several over the years in my own business. And I had to make some changes, like I was talking a few moments ago about making changes to something that didn't work. And one of the things that didn't work was for me to offer, I think in one iteration I offered a reduced rate for vacations for families. I'm going to talk about the family's vacation, and I'll talk about for the provider vacation. So I offered a reduced rate for the family taking vacation. The problem was I didn't define the policy enough, because in my mind I was thinking, well, who takes more than 1 or 2 vacations a year? Well, you'd be surprised. You would really be surprised who takes more than 1 vacation. A lot of people do. And so I was running into a situation where I had a family that was taking a vacation every 3 months, I don't know. And so I needed to define that. Now, eventually I changed that altogether, and there wasn't a paid vacation. There wasn't. Not for the families. They were required to pay tuition, whether they were on vacation or whether they were in attendance. And I know a lot of providers do it that way. There's another way that you can do it, and I think at some point I did it this way as well. You could say, well, you get one. I'm just going to give an example. Of course, you can configure this any which way. But let's say that you want to offer 1 paid vacation for the families every year. You could take that week or 2 week, whatever it is, and incorporate that amount of tuition. So let's say, just for the sake of this example, let's say the weekly tuition is $150. All right. And let's say you're giving them 2 weeks every year of free vacation time. You could take that $150, which for 2 weeks, that would be $300, and incorporate that amount into the base tuition, so that you're really not out of any money. To the families, it appears and feels like they won't be paying tuition for the 2 weeks that they're on vacation, but in fact, you've already collected that throughout the year. So that's another way to do this. This is where, just like I was saying earlier, when it comes to your business, you get to decide and you get to make the decisions. Oh, Denitra. Hi, Denitra. I'm sorry. I'm distracted. Hi, Denitra. Thanks for joining today. Yeah, it's really cool. She was talking about the audio feature that I was talking about earlier. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. And like I said, it is your business. So you might be like me, and you might have to do a trial and error thing, see what works for you, what works for your clients, how you want it to, how you want your policy to be when it comes to family vacations. And like I said, I went through several iterations of this, and landed on something completely different from what I started with. But try it out. Try out both ways. Like I said, it's not a right or wrong, it's what works for your business. Now let's talk about your vacation, my vacation, and what that looks like. So this is where, and even with the family vacation, you can imagine this is where it can get a little, excuse me, it can get a little uncomfortable with your clients because they feel like, well, if I'm not here, why should I have to pay? Or if you're not here and the daycare's not open, why should I have to pay? In this situation, and again, I did a lot of different things when it came to my own vacation time, and quite frankly, early on, I didn't take enough vacation time because I was scared I was going to lose clients, and my clients were going to have issues with me taking off, and it was putting them in a bad spot. But what I didn't take into consideration is the amount of time and hours that I was spending in my business and how much I desperately needed some time off to refresh, to decompress, to de-stress, all of that. And that would have made me a better provider. It would have kept me out of the burnout zone for longer. So it was very necessary. And what I found over the years is you need to figure out how to deal with something before it becomes a problem, right? And before you feel like I felt trapped into being open all the time and just acquiescing to every single need or whatever that my clients had. And so it took me really a long time to get the confidence up and to really sit down and make the changes that I needed to do for my business. So when it comes to your vacation, you need to, again, do what works for you, your business, your family, and then consider your clients. And I know I'm probably going to get some pushback from people. Oh, well, you have to think about the parents and, them being off or whatever. They get time off. They get paid time off. They get paid vacation off. Most people do. I know I did when I was working in corporate America. I had 2 weeks vacation at least. Paid vacation. But regardless, understand that taking time for yourself is not being selfish. It is absolutely necessary, and it makes you a better person, a better provider, and that's what they want. They want the best. They want you at your best. So don't feel guilty about doing that. Just take the time, maybe right now, at the beginning of the year, take the time to make time and figure out what this is going to look like, what needs to change. Maybe that's something you're going to change this year. What needs to be done so that you can get that time off that you need. I was talking a moment ago about Martin Luther King holiday being on Monday. I know a lot of providers, they may not take that day off, but they also don't take off several other federal holidays. That's a federal holiday. I would say pull out your planner and start now looking at what the federal holidays are. Maybe that's your first step before you get to your vacation. See what the holidays are. What's your outlook on that? What's your plan for that? Okay. My plan was to take all of the federal holidays. And here's the thing. Initially, like I said, I felt guilty or trapped or whatever mindset I was in the beginning. But over time, I changed, and I realized too that once the families got into school, they were going to have to figure out federal holidays. They were going to have to figure out more than that because the schools have way more days that they are closed or half day, or there's a lot more, and the families will figure it out. So same thing here. Maybe start slow, look at the federal holidays, and make a decision on if you're going to take all the federal holidays like I do, or some of them and which ones. And then for me, part of me getting out of the mindset of feeling guilty about taking them was to do what I was saying earlier and remind them, okay, just want to remind you, we are closed on Monday for Martin Luther King Day, okay? And like I said, because I did have clients knock on my door, even after I had told them several different times, several different ways. But when they knocked on my door after I got out of that mindset, I was able to say, I'm sorry, we are closed today. And quite frankly, here's another thing that a lot of times we don't consider. What did you put, if you're a licensed provider, what did you put on your license? Because on the license it asks, I believe it still does, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I'm here in California, so it could be different where you are if you're not in the state of California, but I believe that you were required to put down the days that you would be closed. And if you put down the federal holidays, as most people do, then you're not even supposed to be open on that day, right? They're not expecting you to be open on that day. So there's another thing. Look at what you put on your license. Did you say you were going to be open? Did you say you were going to be closed? And don't be afraid to go and make those modifications too. If you have to notify licensing, hey, you know what? I'm no longer open on the federal holidays. If you said you were going to be. Or if you've changed your mind and there's only a few holidays that you want to make sure that you are closed for, then you can just update that information with licensing. But start there if this is a new habit for you. But I would say definitely schedule one vacation this year. And then next year schedule 2 vacations. Okay? You need the time. I've said here before that 1 year, and I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do this exercise again so I remember the details about it. But I believe I sat down and I figured out the typical hours that a childcare provider works and how much that added up to. Okay, and at the end of the year, it added up to 2 extra weeks worth of time that childcare providers work more than the average worker. That's a lot of time. I mean, you don't even have to look at that end of the year amount. You can look at your week. I'm sure that you recognize how many hours you work. And if you don't, you should take some time and figure this out. Because then maybe it'll allow you to give yourself grace to know that you need some downtime. I mean, and I'll stop and move on it in just a second. But I remember realizing one day that I was spending just about every day of the week working on or in my business in some way. And I was getting, like I said, burnt out and resentful. And that's not the best mindset. Excuse me. That's not the best mindset to start your week Monday morning with. Hold on one second. Let me get some water. So figure that out for yourself, okay? And then if you feel guilty like I did, or if you think that you're not being enough service to your clients, then consider adding that time into your rates, just like I said earlier about adding into the parents' vacation rate. Add in your own rate, and that way you can say when you take vacation, it's unpaid for them. It really won't be. It will be incorporated and paid over the year, right? But that way, if they do have a hardship and have to find another provider while you're on vacation, then it's not as much of a hardship because they don't have to pay both places. All right. Last thing I'll say about this is I had a network of friends that were childcare providers, and what was great about that, one of the things that was great about that is that when they went on vacation, or when the few times that I went on vacation, we could reach out to each other and say, hey, would you be able to take my client for a week while I'm on vacation? And that does many things. It gives a sense of confidence in the other provider for your client because you're recommending them. You're also helping them set that up. Maybe you can set up a special rate with another provider, or maybe you can, like I said, when they go on vacation, you take their clients, or you offer to take their clients. And when you go on vacation, maybe they offer to take your clients. And it's not inappropriate to ask them for some type of agreement to say that they won't try and recruit your client or steal your client from you. But yeah, so I hope that helped. The last thing I want you to do is to not take a vacation. So if you need to play around with this, if you need to figure it out and make some changes and then make some more changes, then do that. But make sure you take your time because you're going to need it. It's going to help you in this profession, and it's going to help you stay in this profession as long as you want to, because you won't be burnt to the ground. Okay? All right. Let me get on to the next question because we do have a few questions today, and I don't want to use up all the time. So the next question is, hey there, I've been really needing to get tuition payments under control. I'm curious if you have any tips on making sure payments for daycare are always on time. Any suggestions on how to make it super easy for everyone and ensure payments come in on time every time? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay, so what would you advise this provider? Do you now, or have you had issues with getting your clients to pay you on time? I can tell you, and if you have, and you have some advice, please leave it in the comments. Please leave it in the chat whenever you're watching this, because this is something that comes up over and over again, and it comes up for a lot of us. I've said here on the show many times that was my biggest issue, and a moment ago I was talking about burnout. I would say the stress of that, trying to chase down tuition payments, was the largest contributor to my provider burnout. I mean, it was every week, and then it was all week. You know what I mean? I had clients that were paying me, initially the payment was due on Monday morning. I think a lot of us start off like that. We just think, oh, it's the beginning of the week, that's when they pay, this is the week that we're providing care in. So the payment was due on Monday. I'd have people, of course, I ran out of checks. Oh, I forgot. Oh, we won't be here on Monday. All the excuses. All the excuses. I've heard them all. And consequently, I was getting payments at all times during the week. Just about every other day I was getting payments. And because that was messing with the cash flow for the business, I was running to the bank, I want to say 4 to 5 times a week. And I don't think that was an exaggeration. It was a nightmare. Hi, Deborah. Deborah Hurley's here. I'm going to get to what Deborah has to say about this in a second, but I had to get this under control. And I talked before, I won't tell you the story all over again, but that was a huge change that I had to make in my policies, in my tuition policies. And one of the things I did was in the contract, you know how parents skim through, all of us do. We skim through contracts, especially if it's a long contract. My contract was quite long. We skim through them. We don't really read them. And then we come back and say, oh, what is that? What is your policy on that? Then they want to ask you questions about it. But they've already signed it. But what I wanted them to do was to pay attention to this huge pain point in my business, which was the tuition. So what I did was I broke out the tuition agreement out of the contract and made it on a separate sheet of paper. It was still part of the contract, and they still needed to sign it, but there was a separate signature for that particular page. And so I still don't know. I still cannot guarantee that they read it. However, I made sure to do what I could do what I felt was necessary to get them to pay attention to that particular policy. So that was one of the ways that I handled it. Let's see. Deborah Hurley. Hi, Deborah. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for joining me here today. She says, I have payments due for the following week on Fridays. $15 late fee after 5 p.m. after 5 each weekend day. If payments are not paid with late fees by drop off on Monday, they cannot bring their child on Monday. Yep. That's it. That's the change that I made. And what happened was, we have here in California Public Council, an organization that works with childcare providers. And that one of the years, they were offering to review childcare providers' contracts. And I got accepted for them to review my contract. And at that point, I had a pretty comprehensive contract. But one of the things that they pointed out to me, the analyst pointed out to me, was just what Deborah's saying. Was it Deborah? Yeah, Deborah. Just what Deborah's saying. And to move, instead of the tuition being due on Monday on the week of care, it was due on the Friday previous. So this, in other words, this Friday, tuition would be due for the coming week. Okay? They would need to pay on Friday for next week. And that's what Deborah says she has in place. And if they don't pay, they're accruing late fees. And then by Monday, which is just what the analyst told me, if they don't show up with it on Monday, then they can't drop off. Now, I tweaked it a little bit even after that. I said, for my business, I said it is due on is due on Friday morning. And here's why. It gave me the opportunity to go and deposit the checks on Friday before the bank was closed. If the bank's not open on Saturday, and even if it is, the deposits won't hit the account until Monday. So I wanted the opportunity to be able to take the checks to the bank on Friday. Again, moving it to Friday for the week previous was one of the best things I ever did in my business. And the analyst said, she said, most people aren't get paid on Friday. It's pretty logical. It's pretty logical. So yeah. So that, for me, I tweaked it just a little. I said by Friday morning. It also allowed me time to see who hadn't paid, so that I could remind them, send them out a text. I have a little graphic that I would say, oops, I think you forgot your your tuition. Be sure to bring it at pickup. So I gave them one more chance to be on time. I would send them this text midday, or after the morning, until that I could tell who didn't pay, and remind them that they needed to bring it with them, so that they didn't show up when they picked up their child and said, oh, I forgot. Okay, but let's hear what I want to see what Helena says. I offer monthly and weekly rates. Monthly is the amount I wanted to charge. Weekly is monthly divided by 4.33 plus $10. So they pay about $40 more a month to pay weekly. They pay 3 weeks up front. Let me open this. First week comes from this. The first week comes from this, and the rest is accredited for the last 2 weeks. Don't know about me. 2 weeks of care. This amount can be different due to increase in fees, age, or days difference. Monthly pays on the first, and weekly pays on Friday for the next week. I charge $25 per day late fee, including weekends. After 2 days, they are terminated. She's got this laid out. Helena, you're my hero, because it took me forever to get to exactly that. She has a little bit more particulars, but I did that as well. I added a monthly rate, and for me it was a percentage off. But I like that that for her it's a set amount off. because then you can apply it across the board equally. It's the same amount. You don't have to think about it. For me, it was a percentage off, and most of my clients took that option. Not everybody, it depends on the demographic, it depends on your clients. Not everybody may take that monthly option. But my clients appreciated not having to think about paying the tuition but once a month. And I would remind them, because that's what I do. And they would pay, and then I didn't have to worry about it. I went to the bank. Well, I still did have a few that paid weekly, but it was much, much better. Much better, much more under control, like this provider's asking. Let me see. Deborah says, I have a drop-off box for weekends. Yes, I love that. I also did that too. I went to, I love to thrift shop and everything. One of my other passions is interior design, and I was thrifting, and I found this cute little box, and it was red, and it had polka dots, and it was a box that you could hang on the wall. It had a flat back and it had a hinged top. So I put it up next to the sign-in sheet, and I said, this is where tuition payments go. So when people would tour, I would explain that. As a part of their onboarding, I would explain that this is where tuitions go, because I got tired of parents handing me checks. I've actually lost checks because I was changing a diaper or cooking breakfast or whatever. And I know my mind, I put it down somewhere and I didn't find it. I don't know. So anyway, this was a good other procedure to add to that. And everybody just got used to it. They put it in the box, and then in the morning I could see who hadn't paid, and by afternoon I could hit those ones up that were delinquent and say, hey, don't forget, bring it at pickup. And I know that Deborah, Helena, and I are talking about imposing a late fee, and I've talked about this before too. I'll link to an article that I wrote about the fees that just about all of us should be charging, and a late fee is one of them. And here's why. I know it can be uncomfortable to impose some of these things, but guess what? In the real world, if you're late with your credit card, if you're late with your house note, if you're late with a lot of things, you are going to get hit with a late fee. Okay? Everybody knows this. This is not something new. They may not be expecting it from you, but guess what I found out? With the clients that I did have to impose that late fee with, I only had to do it one time. Nobody likes to pay more if they don't have to. Now, I'm not going to say that I didn't have that odd client that just was late all the time and just had to suck it up. Maybe they I don't think that in that situation they weren't managing their payroll the best. And I wish they would have discussed it with me, because maybe we could have worked out a different payment system, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, whatever, so that they wouldn't have to incur those fees. But I did impose them. And I would say, get up the courage to impose it and let people know that you're serious. Otherwise, it'll be like me, and they will pay late every week. Every week. I saw that. It was out of control, and I'm assuming that that's probably why. Debbie, you like thrifting too? We should go together. I don't know if she's even here in California. I just love the opportunity to go thrifting. You can find some really well. Okay, I'll say another point. Anyway, I'm going to presume that Deborah and Helena got to this state because of some issues that they had with tuition. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go through that like we did, because we can give you this advice and you can avoid that. All right? Put it in your contract that late tuition incurs a late fee. It's standard procedure for any kind of payment, any kind of recurring payment. If you're late, there's a fee. Okay? So, get over it. Impose it. You won't have to keep imposing it. I promise you, because if you do, you're going to do like what, who was that? Helena said they get terminated. Okay? And you know what? That sounds harsh. I get it. But not really, guys. Okay? Because if you're not getting paid anyway, you need to make space for a paying client. Okay? And maybe this isn't the space for this client. Maybe this isn't we're not the ideal provider for everyone. Just like there's ideal clients for your business, and there's people that aren't ideal clients for your business. And I want to submit to you that someone who's not paying you and not paying you on time is not an ideal client. Okay? They can be, because they can change it around, and I've seen that happen. But you have to stand up for your business, and your business, for it to be sustainable, it needs to have a healthy cash flow. Okay, I'm going to move on. Helena said, yep, 24 years of dealing with it. Yep, exactly. And you will make changes. You will make changes in that amount of time because of, I would say, most of the policies that I came up with and added and it revised or whatever, it was due to some issue that I had. And it's fine. That's what happens. Your business grows, and you make changes, and you make changes that are best for you and the business, and ultimately better for your clients as well, because it makes you a better provider. You're not as frustrated, you know. Helena says, I would rather them talk to me up front and give me the grace for a few days instead of hunt them down and charge them a late fee. Exactly. And, you know, I don't know if you want to put that out in the beginning when you have a new client. Oh, if you ever have a problem paying me, just come to me. I don't know if you want to open that door. But if you see something happening, maybe go ahead and approach them and say, hey, you know what? Is there an issue? Maybe there's difficulty. Is there something we can do to work together? I don't know how you want to phrase it for your business, but she's absolutely right. And you know what? That type of compassion goes a long way with people, right? All right, I'm going to get on to the last question before I run out of time, because I am long-winded. Can you tell? Okay, last question. Hey, so I've been tossing around the idea of starting a childcare business. And with everything going on in 2024, I'm curious about your take on it. Do you think it's a good time to dive into the childcare world, or are there things I should consider before taking the plunge? I'd really appreciate your thoughts on this. What advice would you give this provider? Okay, we're in 2024. It's a brand new year. What do you think? Helena, Deborah, let me know. Helena, you're in New York. Oh, we can't go shopping. Maybe when I come to New York, my husband wants to come to New York, so I'll look you up. I know you guys have some good thrift stores in New York. And then if you come out here, anyway, okay. Let me focus. Okay, so there is a lot going on in 2024. There's a lot of challenging things going on in the world in 2024. And there's a lot of things going on in this country. We have an election coming up. I'm not going to get into that. So there's a lot going on. But, and absolutely there's some things you should consider before taking the plunge. And a lot of that has to do with you. It has to do with you, what your goals are, what your family structure is, what your environment is. And I presume that you've probably done a lot of that. But that being said, my advice is that it is a good time and depending on where you're located. So let me get into that real quick. Like I said before, demographics are different. Helena said she's in New York and I'm in California. This is wholly different, okay? Same profession, different demographics, different needs, but that happens from not only state to state and city to city, but community to community. You could have a situation where there are several child cares in your community, okay? And that doesn't mean you shouldn't start your childcare. It just means you need to do some more research, okay? Or you could be in a situation where Denitra Scott talks about this a lot too, where there's a so-called childcare desert, where there's not enough childcare, and any childcare that opens up is full right away and has a waiting list, and there's more of a need than there is a supply. Or you can have something in between. It really depends on your demographic. So what you need to do, and this is what you need to do is research, okay? And I'm not saying you have to research for the rest of the year, okay? You can usually go to your local CCR or even, the union, and ask for information regarding the city where you are and where your childcare will be located. Okay, what are the needs? Is there more needs for infant childcare? Are there more needs for school age? Out here in California, and it's not just California. I shouldn't even just say that anymore. You know, we've got the issue of universal pre-K, right? And I know that Erica Sarkozio was on the show last year talking about how to maybe deal with that in your business. And I have threatened to do this, but this year I will. I'm going to be talking about different business models and how you can set your business up to thrive, even when you've got a landscape like universal pre-K switching things up, right? There was a provider that I talked about last year, and maybe I'll be able to get her on the show, or I can ask her some questions and interview her. She said she totally changed her business model because of universal pre-K, but she works less and makes more or the same money as she was making before. And I know that, you know, change can be hard, change can be scary, but you're running a business, and I will always say this, you're running a business, and every business looks at trends, looks at what's happening in the world, and makes decisions for their business based on that information. So you need to do some information. You need to do some research. When we moved here to this house, there were 13 childcares within 3 blocks of me. Everybody had a childcare, and I took it as a challenge. I didn't get disheartened. I didn't, give up. I said, okay, I'm going to have to stand out, and I'm going to have to know that the people who are supposed to be here with me will find me, and the people who are for someone else, give them to someone else. I am sure Helena and Deborah will agree. You don't want those clients that are not your clients, okay? Believe me, you don't want them, okay? Throw them back. You'll get another client. And it may seem hard, and I get it, but no. Not any client is not better than no client. Promise you. Promise you. So let's see. So that's my advice. Do some research. Maybe do what Denitra Scott advises too, is to get into some of these mommy groups, Facebook mommy groups. I always say go into the ones that, if you can find ones that are in your community or in your city, to get a real idea of what these parents are needing, okay? And don't go in there, advertising your business all over the place and coming off scammy. Nobody likes that, right? But use that as a research tool to find out what the needs are. I mean, it's just like everything else, right? If you can find something that someone else, that there's a community of people that need, but people aren't, there isn't a supply, there's not enough of it in supply, that is a winning combination. But you have to find out what that is first. So you need to, in this case, you need to find out what type of care is truly needed in your community. Maybe it's school age, maybe it's infant, maybe it's something, I don't know. Okay, maybe it's after hours, maybe it's weekend care. Depends on what your community's needs are, and also what you want to do. right? But I would say it is still a good time to start your business. We have lots of tools in the shop. I will leave a link to the shop to help you set that up and help it run as smoothly as you can, and develop these processes that Deborah and Helena and I have been talking about, and changes and different things. So I'll link to that. But I want to see what they have to say. Helena says, yes, I can't compete with free care at the school. They have a whole school here dedicated to pre-K. I hear about 500 slots. Dang. So I focus on younger ages and keep those who don't want to be in the public school. It makes me sad, but I just find someone else. Yeah. And that's another thing too. There are going to be people, well, first of all, we can't deny that the lure of something free is always there, right? It's always going to be what people gravitate toward. But then you're going to see that there's going to be some people that resist that don't want that. Now, whether you can base your whole business on that model, or maybe you need to make adjustments like I was talking to you about earlier in this show. That depends on where you are. But be open to it, okay? Because just like I talk about tech, I talk about a lot of different things, and a lot of things we are nervous about because they're new, or we don't understand them, or we like things the way they were. The fact of the matter is, things don't stay the way they were. If you think about it, I told you that I started my childcare business 20, it's coming up on 25 years ago, I think. And things were totally different. They were, of course they were. It was 25 years ago. Okay? So things are changing, and maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But for your business to survive, you have to put your businesswoman's cap on and start thinking about what changes you can make to your business to help it be sustainable. Just like Helena was saying, maybe your tours center around the different aspects that pre-K environment that they cannot compete with. Okay, maybe your smaller enrollment, you focus in on that and talk about the boutique environment and how specialized it is, because it's a smaller environment. Your child's not going to get lost in the shuffle here, because they have more one-on-one time with the provider, which is you. So maybe that's the change that you'll need to make. Maybe it's not going to be as drastic or as impactful as you think, but you have to start thinking about what to do in those situations. Deborah said, make your daycare better than your competitors. Exactly. That is exactly the mindset that I had when I found out there were 13 childcare providers in 3 blocks of me. I was like, I've got to shine. I've got to shine. And I've got to have the confidence to project to my prospective clients, to know that by this time I had been in the game for many, many years, and I had that experience under my belt, so that I'm not begging you please to come to my child. No. And there were some that weren't a good fit. And that's okay. I know that there's a lot of providers that think, everyone, you don't want to turn anyone away. I'm sorry. There's going to be some situations where they're not a good fit for your business. And it's not just about you, it's for them as well. I had a situation that I talked about, and I'm going to stop. But I had a situation I talked about on another show where it was out of the scope of my care, this particular child. Now, how wrong would I have been to just take this child just to have this client, knowing that I could not provide the care that this child needed? That's not good business. That is not being a good human being. Definitely not being a good child care provider. No. Let me help them find the resources to find some place that is a good fit for them. Okay? Let's see. Helena says, where am I? Okay. Helena says, I only have 2 other licensed homes in my county. This has helped a great deal, but I found about 5 to 10 things that set me apart from everyone else. Yes, that's it. That's it right there. Okay? How about I had some prospective clients show up for tours, and as I walked them around, see, I call my tour an orientation. I didn't call it a tour, okay? And the reason why was I wanted to orient them to my program, okay? And you can call your tour whatever you want, but I called mine an orientation. And as I walked them around the facility, I explained the benefit of that. I explained the benefit of the what do they call those activity sets, jungle gym, whatever. I explained the large motor skill development and the social skills that the kids were going to be getting by engaging in this activity or that activity. It highlights your experience and expertise. It helps educate the parents. I mean, but do exactly what, if you are in this situation where you find that there is competition, and usually there is some type of competition, figure out what sets your business apart. Maybe you've been in business, Helena, was it you? It was either Helena or, I can't scroll back. It was either Helena or Deborah, who's been in business like me for many decades, right? Maybe that's what sets you apart. You've taken care of many children, okay? Maybe you have your program is what sets you apart. Maybe you have a play-based program. What does play-based mean? What does it mean in your program, so that you can talk to your prospective clients about what your program, the benefits of your program, okay? They might not be getting that type of tour when they go to another facility. And they're going to remember. They're going to remember what you said and how it can benefit both their child and their family. So think about that. Think about your business. I started the show by asking you what changes you were going to make this year in your business. Think about maybe really understanding what sets your business apart. And maybe that means your tour is going to change, maybe how you speak about your program, maybe the verbiage and description that you put up about your program on your website is going to change, just because you have a better understanding of what to share, what parents need to know about your program, right? I was talking to my daughter the other day, maybe yesterday, and she was she's at a convention. She was walking around, and her mindset is, why do I need this? Why is this going to be good for me? And that's what most people want to know about any and everything that they need to invest in. Why do I need to? Why do I need to invest in this? Why is this better than what sets this apart? Well, know that about your program. That's reasonable, and that's going to benefit you, your enrollment, your program, everybody. Okay? Let me get some final comments here from Helena and Deborah here. I've been in childcare, previous home and center care, and I just opened my home again 2 years ago. Whoa, she's a lifer. You're a lifer, Helena, because she's had a lot of experience and she is still in the game. So congrats to you. Congrats. She said one of the things that she does is she provides diapers, wipes, mud suits, wash clothes. The food program, no one else has a food program in her area. See, some of these things, it's not going to be hard, but you've got to just talk about it. You've got to let people know, this is what makes my program great. This is what makes me stand out. Okay. Yeah, Helena says that she interviews and she chooses the family. And I think that's another one of those mindset issues, because I know when we most of us come into the profession thinking that we're waiting on the families to choose us, when in fact you need to have questions. I'll leave a link to the questionnaire that we have in the shop, of questions that you can ask families, because you need to know certain things. And I feel a lot of times we are waiting for them to select us, when in fact you're the business owner. You need to be making sure that this is a good choice for your business as well. Okay? So I have gone long today, so I'm going to stop. This is abrupt. Thank you, Helena. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Denitra, for joining me here today live. And if you're catching this, like I said, on replay, please leave a comment to any of the issues that we talked about here today. Leave your take and your feedback on it. And if you do have a question that you would like me to address here on the show, I would love that. Just go to thrivingchildcare.com/what's your question. That's thrivingchildcare.com/what's your question. And you can leave it there, and then I will address it on the show next week. We're here every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I believe that's 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I would love it if you join me every week. My name is Adrienne Bradley, and I am your host for the Daycare Q&A Show. And thanks again for joining me here. It was a great show. All right? And almost forgot. I cannot wait to continue this incredible journey with you next week. Until then, keep thriving. Talk to you soon.